Hi, thank you very much for joining us. I'm Mario, and I'm a technologist and a mobile solution architect with Stratix. And I'm here with Ryan, not to be confused with Thomas.
Yes. Hi and welcome. My name's Ryan Bell. I'm with SOTI. I've worked with the partner enablement team, so dealing with all of our partners across North America.
Very good, very good. And we're really glad to be talking to you today, specifically about retail. But before we kind of get into that, I mean, we've had a really long-standing partnership with SOTI, and we've closed a lot of business in the retail space, mainly because we're tackling some of the major issues. And today, they kind of go by different names. But back in the past, they were omnichannel, and there was all these kinds of different initiatives. But today, what we're really talking about is improving the shopper journey. It's increasing basket size. Yes, we're trying to accommodate for the employee withdrawal and trying to help employees feel confident and comfortable in what they're using, and getting in front of customers and protecting that brand image. But then the last thing is we're really trying to reduce risks. I wanted to get from you, Ryan, what are some of the trends that SOTI is seeing in the retailer space?
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, thinking back to the last 2 years, it's definitely drastically changed. With the introduction, like COVID came along, and overnight you saw retailers had to make a pretty big change to be able to provide curbside delivery or pickup.
Yeah.
And if up in Canada where I'm from, we saw businesses, within a week be able to turn it around and offer a service like that, which is drastically different from the past concerns of, how do I get them in the store? Where are they going in the store? So it was really neat to see that. And it was really important too and critical, because if businesses weren't making that shift, the store wasn't open, they weren't allowed to have people in there, and they're losing tens of thousands of dollars a day by having that, right? So that was one major shift that we saw. Now, with stores opening again, what we're finding is, people are coming in, they've got all this mobile technology now. How can they use that to help create that better experience, right? And I know one of the big things that we're looking at around like employee confidence, for instance, right?
Sure.
Making sure that the tools that they have are working day by day, and that they're going to be able to be productive in their job and not have to have any issues. Like if you think about in that curbside pickup scenario, it wasn't about increasing the basket size. It was about making sure that the order's accurate.
Yeah, and didn't come back.
Correct.
Right? Yeah,
right?
because what a huge shift that is from, first of all, having customers walk into the store. Now we've got them outdoors, which means I've got an employee that has to go outdoors with equipment that allows them to fulfill that order all outdoors. And now you've got that kind of shift to, we're going to keep that feature and function running, but now we're getting the customers to come back inside, and we need to step up our game even more, because there's a higher expectation there.
Yeah, and now that they're coming in, we're seeing a lot of requests around the technology to track people in the stores, right? So where are they going? Where is people congregating in the store? Is that where my big ticket items are? Or how do I get them over there, right?
And we saw initiatives like this in the past too, right? I mean, the classic example is download our app and we'll give you these coupons, something like that. But really what they're doing is they're tracking their customers as they walk in, and then they dwell within the store. Unfortunately, that just doesn't work in our day and age, because nobody wants to download the app, right?
Right.
So what you're talking about is a passive way of identifying the way people flow into a retail environment. Maybe it's a grocery store, or maybe it's out in a mall, and then understanding some of the behavioral patterns that happen with those individuals without any personally identifiable information. I think that's really fantastic.
Yeah, absolutely. It'll be interesting to see how they shape it. I mean, this could really kind of change the layout of some stores.
Sure.
Now, and because now everyone's got mobile devices, right? In the past, it was, where are they walking and where are they walking past, and there's like a little scanner checking you walking by. But now we're getting real data from their mobile phones based on SSID, Bluetooth signatures or MAC addresses, right? So that's really interesting. Another one is around risk. So with all the introduction of all these new mobile endpoints, there's a ton of risk, and they're doing it. They had to do it so quickly to be able to adapt to the environment. And what we're seeing is that there's a lot of concern around, is the device secure? Are the endpoints all secure? Because as you bring in these devices, you're opening up more endpoints into the network. Right. And a lot of times that's how issues come up. It's either a device that's left unlocked and someone can access it. And even as far as a mobile printer that's left unmanaged can really kind of leave open the.
Who would have thought printers would have that kind of influence?
Yeah, right. They've come a long way
Yeah.
from where we, the dot matrix printer versus what we've seen today. It's a lot more connectivity. Businesses want more information out of them, and that means network connectivity and access. And you've got to make sure we secure all of that.
Yeah, and you raised some really valid points. And so as we're talking about this kind of cacophony of so many different technology devices, all trying to accomplish different use cases, right? And a great example of that is the executive for a major grocery chain is not going to be using the same tablet as a front-end customer service representative, right? And they're not using the same technology as somebody in the back office or in the logistics or possibly stocking the shelves. I mean, we're talking about really a varied group of technological devices, and sometimes they're tablets, sometimes they're handheld, sometimes they're scanners. You've got printers and Internet of Things devices that are operating or that look a whole lot like a tablet, but they're really operating just as an individual node. Getting all of that provisioned ahead of time in such a way that it meets the individual use case that the business is trying to accomplish is incredibly important. It's really where we have stacked our business and have been able to support our customers. But to get all that managed under one pane of glass, I mean, that's really where SOTI comes in, right? Yeah,
I mean, as an architect, you've definitely experienced this, trying to bring all the different types of technologies into one single pane of glass. So this is where we try to help out retailers and giving them that one interface instead of 4 or 5 different interfaces so that they'll be able to get in there, provision, secure, manage, and even when it comes to retirement, be able to, again, find the devices, wipe them, make sure that users aren't walking out with any corporate data.
That's incredibly important because once we get the devices actually provisioned, so ahead of time, there's a lot of consulting that goes on. I mean, we're talking with all the key stakeholders and trying to figure out, okay, what is it that we're trying to accomplish? What are our constraints, our budget, timeline, all that kind of thing. But then once the device is actually designed and deployed, there's so much more that goes into this, right? I mean, we were talking about day 2 earlier, which is, devices in the field now.
Yeah.
And something doesn't meet the expectation, or somebody runs over a tablet with a forklift, or some other piece of equipment or even a software is not accessible to that end user, whether they're an employee or sometimes it's a customer and so on. So once a device is actually in the field and it's now being used, what happens when something goes wrong or doesn't meet the expectation, or an end user, maybe it's an employee, maybe it's even an end customer, they can't access an application or some feature function and they don't know what to do. Well, we can respond to that, but we can't respond to that until we know about it. And that's where, again, another great function of having all your mobile device management housed into one dynamic roof. That's where SOTI comes in, right?
Right. No, absolutely. And being able to, like, if there is a problem, so there's kind of reactive and then being proactive about it. So in the normal sense, there is a lot of reactive responses to what's going on the device, in which case we try to empower retailers with a solution to be able to access that device anywhere in the world, right? If you're on the East Coast, Central, West Coast, even overseas, being able to get in, see what the user is doing, and quickly resolve the issue, keeping them there in that space, right? I remember back in the day when, working at a retail store, if I had a problem with my device, I had to go upstairs, find management, get them to look at it. And now no one's even in my section, right? No one's covering that. And it was hardware back then. But now it's, empowering them to one click, access the device, see what's going on, couple clicks, resolve that issue. The employee hasn't left their section. The associates are where they still need to be. And they can still even interact with customers while IT is on there looking at these devices, getting them up and running.
That's a really good point. So a big part of this idea and what we're kind of discussing now is something that we refer to as lifecycle management, right? So it's once the device is actually deployed, who's going to be the responsible party for making sure that it stays in the field? And I like how you put that. A big piece of that is, well, when something goes wrong, first we need to know about it. And I think SOTI does a fantastic job of being both proactive and reactive in those situations. But then, having a place for that person to find resolution. And we call that our mobile operations center or our MOC. And essentially it's a call center. It's people that are, they know specifically about the devices, their use case, as it pertains to that specific business. We're not just stocking the our call center full of people that can just answer phones. No, these are folks that have actually been trained on the actual use cases within that organization, so that they can speak intelligibly and actually use the same language that the business is using. And so we'll utilize a platform like SOTI to understand where the expectation is and where that has not been met, and even utilize our own internal system called iTrack 360, which allows us to understand the entire resolution stream of that device. So we know when the call came in, we know how that was resolved, if it was, and if it wasn't, it needs to be maybe the device needs to be brought back in. Well, then we can reprovision a new device and send that back out. And again, all through that process, we're communicating back with SOTI and making sure that, okay, the old device is now tagged as no longer in the field. The new device is tagged as being deployed and where its location is and all that kind of thing. So having all of these systems kind of work in concert is the reason why we've got professionals that just focus on being the experts in mobility.
Right. Yeah, and the retailers really need that, right? The landscape changes so fast, and I see that our partners are the people with the most experience. We work with the OEMs. We get to see the new technologies coming out and understand how they can be implemented. And retailers are stuck on the other end of it, where once they buy it, they have to start to figure out, how do I use it? How do I implement it? Right. So that's where it's really critical to have partners like Stratix to get out there and work with us and the customers to help implement these technologies and figure out different ways to even use them to even drive more productivity throughout the business.
That's very good. Now, we talked a lot about managing consulting and designing and then deploying the devices. And then we talked a little bit about the management of those devices, but I really want to go into the employee confidence thing, because you just kind of touched on that. Right now, we're seeing a major shift in the labor patterns within the United States, and I'm sure Canada is running into the same scenario too, right? So the short version is it's hard to get people to show up, right?
Right.
Okay. Well, in that, retailers still have an obligation to their consumers to manage their brand and to provide that excellent experience so that they can get the consumers to come back again, right? And so that employee confidence, I think, has a direct result on consumer confidence. Now, having the right devices and having a platform where we know that this device is being utilized specifically for the task that it was called upon to be deployed, that's incredibly important, right? I mean, and there's a number of different ways we can do that. Do you want to talk about shared devices a little bit?
Yeah, no, absolutely. Now these devices are coming up with options where you can quickly swap between who the end user is, what their job function is, and that's super important. Using a management solution actually is a nice little complement to that too, because we can completely remove applications or deploy applications based on who's logging into that device. If it's someone in the warehouse or someone in the front, or that person doing curbside delivery out front, right? And again, each job is going to have its own set of applications and use cases that you're going to need to kind of cater to. And so having the multi-user features on these devices is amazing, but then also, again, being able to layer on top the MDM and the management piece to be able to make sure everything is going down there smoothly so that when that user logs in, it's ready to go for them.
Right. And in this scenario, you've got one device that might be touched by multiple users. So in that shared device, it is incredibly important that whoever logs into it has the access to the tools that they need in order to get the job done, right?
Yeah, I mean, the last thing you want is someone logging in, the tools are not there. This is the number one thing that, employees are like, I don't even have the right tools to be successed at this job. Is this really what I want to be a part of?
And then the snowball grows, right? Yeah, do I want to be here? I could be
Exactly. Now, which, I'd add to that though, which is another big risk. Like, so all these people are leaving the business. We got to, again, where's that device? And the other issue I see is with BYOD. Now that employees are bringing in their personal devices, and retailers have pivoted to accept this and allow them to get the applications they need and whatnot, right? But when they leave, you got to be able to get all that information back.
Get the corporate data off the device without ever touching their consumer data. And that's, that's a huge function, which remember, I mean, you started 11 years ago, and I've been doing this for a long time as well.
Yeah.
And that was never available back then. But
No.
today, you can take one device and have it be used for both business and personal.
Yep.
And while maintaining the security that your organization needs.
Right. And in the employee's mind, also with limited physical contact with their device,
Sure.
They don't want you touching their device.
Right.
And during these in the retail space, you're seeing a lot of turnover.
Mm-hmm.
They're not going to wait around for you to take a look at it and make sure it's all cleared. Typically
Mm-hmm.
they're gone. Next day, IT finds out,
Mm-hmm.
and they're going to need a way to be able to get in there and secure the content.
I mean, I've heard plenty of stories where people just don't come back from lunch.
Yeah.
So you you have to have a plan.
Yeah.
Okay, so that's the multi-user single device. But what we are finding is that when you do get an employee in, and this is happening all across retail, it's really not necessarily multi-user single device. It's really one device, one user, and multiple functions. So you've got somebody who is both the greeter at the front door. They're also pulling the sunglasses out for you to try on. They're also taking out the garbage or even restocking the shelves. And each one of those is a different function. How does SOTI help us make sure that the right applications are available to somebody like that in a multi-function environment?
Right. Well, I mean, in that environment, what we're looking at is, well, who signed on to the device? What's their main purpose? But then we can take it even further by geofencing parts of the store. If you go out front, let's take these apps off of there. Let's put curbside delivery kind of apps onto the device. If you go into the warehouse, let's get rid of curbside. Let's look at inventory applications. And when you're on the floor, it's more about price checking, looking up where products are, what aisle, what section of the shelf. I mean, you say aisle 32, 3/4 of the way down on the right.
Right.
And so, again, based on where they are in the store, we can actually manipulate the device and change what that user sees to make it more relatable to what they're doing at the moment.
That's really good. And I think that actually kind of helps us bring this whole thing home, because if we understand what the problems are, and now we understand kind of how we're addressing those issues with the right technology, with the right plan and all that kind of thing, what is it that we can do, and really our retailers that are looking for these best practices and really trying to figure out, okay, how do I minimize risk? How do I improve employee confidence? And really, how do I address some of the tensions that I'm running into today as an organization? What should they do to get started? And it sounds like that all of this begins with a consultation. It begins with talking this thing out. Let's figure out exactly what we're trying to accomplish together.
Yeah, and I mean, I'm a big fan of consultation because usually they're free. And so let's get a good understanding from someone who's certified and understands the technology to help us understand what are the problems. And
it's easy to sit across the room from and share ideas.
Right?
Yeah, okay, yeah.
And I mean, that's where I look to our partners, because as a vendor, yes, I talk to customers, but our partners are the people that are feet on the street, boots on the ground, in the stores, setting up things like even as like infrastructure, right? Are there enough access points? So by meeting with our partners, you guys really have optics on what's happening out on the field. And I think that the first step should be to call up a partner such as Stratix and just go over, what are some of the problems you're facing, how fast you need it resolved, because in retail, everything moves fairly quickly. But it all starts with that consultation. And from there, we'll jump in and piggyback that together. And then we can start to look at building out that infrastructure, the MDM piece, what the end user is going to need to have on their device, and also the end user experience.
Stratix has been around for 40 years. This is going to sound a whole lot like a pitch. Stratix has been around for 40 years, and the average tenure of our customers is 10 years. But we also, we're talking about retail here today, and that's incredibly important to us. But that's not the only vertical that we support. I mean, we do transportation, education, healthcare, hospitality. You're impressed I remember all these things.
Yeah, I am. Yeah.
Okay, so my question to you, and I apologize, it's kind of a leading question, but how important is it to have a company like Stratix that has been around for a long time, but also has a diversity of client base in order to get these types of implementations done?
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, the first thing that comes to mind is like your deep knowledge of that customer. That's going to be critical, right? But also all the experience you're gaining out of being with a company who, for 10 years, has kind of shifted and implemented new technologies, and understanding as they implement the new technologies, what are the problems that come up, and being able to be agile enough to stay on top of it and get them to the end, right?
Yeah.
And then of course, going across the different verticals, there's a lot of times when I'm working in like healthcare and I see something come up where I'm like, that actually works really well for retail as well, or for manufacturing, right?
Right. We're not reinventing the wheel each
Exactly.
time. And really, when we run into a situation, especially, I mean, we talked a little bit about customers that have been with us for a long time, but new customers coming into Stratix, they can have confidence that, hey, when we see a problem or they've got a problem that needs solving, we're not seeing it for the first time.
Yeah.
And so we can come at it with a little bit of knowledge and a little bit of expertise in each one of those individual areas, but with a deep understanding of how mobility can change and improve your business functions.
Right. No, 100%. And all, the big shining star in there is if you're keeping customers for 10 years, you're obviously doing something right. And so, keeping the customers happy is important. Implementing things quickly is important, and understanding the new technologies that come. So I think, well positioned for Stratix in that scenario, and just being able to, for those new customers coming on board, the wealth of knowledge that you guys have, is going to be tremendous to them and invaluable to them as they get started in their technology journey.
Well, this has been a lot of fun, and we've talked about a lot of different deployment strategies and how SOTI's platform really is the backbone to make sure that all these disparate devices can be managed under one roof, and how Stratix has used the 40 years and a diversity of different verticals that we've supported in order to really solve customers' needs. But we'd really be remiss if we didn't end with, what does the viewer do about this information?
Right. Yeah, no, absolutely. If anything, to the viewers, if anything that you've heard today sounds like a problem that you're running into, if you're looking at procuring devices, they're already deployed and there's issues with there and user adoption, and or even the end of life, like how do I pull this all back in, right? So earlier we talked about that, how I love the free consultation. So I would say definitely reach out to Stratix, have that conversation. You guys have all the expertise. You know who to pull in if it's hardware related, software related, and really just, again, start that conversation. Let's I'm an open guy, so I'm going to say be open. Let's just really talk about what the key issues are, and between your expertise, all the customers you guys have been supporting over the years, and our expertise in mobile device management, I think that would be kind of the good point to start at.
Absolutely. And I appreciate you saying that, because it's not just, well, as much as we like to start new projects and start off fresh and get it done right the first time, if you've got a project that's out there that's running and it's just not meeting your needs, it's a great opportunity for us to step in and really talk about, hey, how do we get to that end goal that you're looking for?
Right.
And even if you've got an MDM today, there's no reason why we shouldn't evaluate how SOTI might be able to support your business. So.
Yeah, absolutely. And drawing from a recent account that we worked with, like one of the big things that we've seen is some retailers are trying to, I'm going to save costs, and, I've got a guy who's kind of tech savvy in the office that can get this deployed. And then next thing you know, you're 6 months down the line, it's still not working yet. The end users are all getting frustrated with this silly technology. So just, bring someone in that has that experience. It's worth the value add. The time you're going to spin your tires trying to get it off the ground, it could have been better invested into a partner like Stratix to come in and make sure they get it right the first time.
Hey, and we're back to risk reduction, aren't we?
That's it.
You stay in your core competency, we stay in ours, and that's
exactly.
how we produce something amazing. Thank you very much for your time, and thanks for watching.
Thank you.